What is up, everyone? Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill. Welcome back to the next episode in my First Impressions series, and we are diving down the Path of Exile here, which is a game I have never played before. I don't think. There may have been a brief stint in like 2014 where I tried this for like a day or two for some R&D, but it's been so long ago I can't remember if this was the game or not. But with Diablo 4 right around the corner, I figured it was a good time to get into one of these top-down, hack and slash looter style games. And this is one of those that was out there. I'm playing this on the Xbox Series X as opposed to the PC. So this is going to be sort of a first impressions video of me playing through the console edition, and sort of wrapping my head around this game. Is this something I'm going to want to sink another 20, 30 hours into, which we well know by the end of this video. So if you like that kind of stuff, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and without further ado, let's dive into the actual first impressions video here. So from here we get into sort of a standard character creator for these types of games, and one of the things I never like is when I'm told that I can't pick my own sex for the character class. So it's the same here. You're limited to specific sexes for the different classes. Like the Templar can only be a male. The Ranger can only be a female. The Witch can only be a female. And then they have this really confusing like standard sanctum, hardcore sanctum, challenge leagues, which I don't understand anything about. There's no information here. They say click RS for league information. The pop-up told me nothing about the league that I could see. And I was also seeing some weird issues with the streaming to the PC from the Xbox because I was doing this via remote play. I don't know what was up with that. But ultimately, I just ended up choosing the standard default game mode, which, as I understand, is just the normal way to play the game. And from there, I jumped right in. Now, I initially started off as the duelist because I thought that sounded really cool, and the initial graphic looked really awesome, like the animation sequence and everything as the character steps forward. But ultimately, after I got into the game, it took me less than 90 seconds to realize that I did not like the duelist's gameplay because you had to be right up in the middle of combat and it wasn't playing the way I envisioned it to play. So I just backed out and ended up making a hunter. And from there, I went and played through to get my first impressions video. Now, most of the time when I do a first impressions video, I'm going to be going through the tutorial, which is usually an hour to maybe 3 hours long, and that's what I give it. And some people will say, it's impossible to get a first impressions video if you've only played the game for an hour. You need to play at least 10 or 15. No, I don't. If the tutorial can't give me enough of the gameplay experience to make me want to play another session, then I'm not going to play another session. So with the case of this game, I did not like the duelist, so I immediately turned around and made a hunter, and found that gameplay experience to be much more enjoyable, which enabled me to actually get a gameplay session out of the game, which wouldn't have happened had I stuck to the duelist. So picking the hunter and then going from there, or the ranger I think they call it here in this game, getting into the game from here, I found the tutorial experience to be something that I actually enjoyed quite a bit more. So without further ado, let's do the actual gameplay here. After we create the name of the character, we'll jump into the game and actually play a little bit. Oh look, I'm waking up on a beach and I've been unconscious. That's not a cliche at all. I've not seen that in any other games. So right away, the story does not inspire me right away because it's something I've seen in a million other games where they drop you off on a beach or an island or a deserted location and your memories are gone and you've got to try to figure out what's going on. So from a storyline perspective, I've not seen anything yet that has inspired me to say, oh my god, the story in Path of Exile is just so amazing. But the gameplay loop, once you get into it, is very straightforward. It's very easy to play. Just hold down your trigger buttons to shoot your arrows, and from there you get these cool gems, which you can slot into these color-coded gem slots on your weapons and armor, which for me, that was super easy to follow. This is not complex. It's just really simple. The color matches, put it in. You have primary, which gives you the abilities, and then you have secondaries, which are these gem slots, which add bonuses to whatever is the primary weapon ability that is being used on that item. So the X, A, Y, R, S slots on your keypad on your gamepad are used up by these skill gems. So the only way you can get your abilities is through skill gems, as opposed to, say, through a leveling process where you're choosing your abilities from a skill tree. So that part of it is somewhat unique, I think. I don't think I've seen that in a ton of games where your abilities are coming from gems as opposed to a leveling process. The gems do have a leveling process and get more powerful over time, as do the weapons, but it was interesting to me to find that the leveling process doesn't actually give you abilities. It's primarily through the gem drops and then beyond from there. But as far as the gameplay loop goes, this game is super simple. It's very straightforward. It's your typical Diablo-style gameplay. Run around, shoot mobs. Sometimes you have one mob, sometimes you have 20 mobs. You have normal abilities and then abilities to do AoEs, and then your loot drops, and you pick up loot and go from there. And you have a finite amount of inventory space to worry about, so inventory management is a thing. There's no weight limit that I can see, but you do have to be conscious of what you're picking up because you only have so many slots, and you may or may not want backup gear as you go through the game, so that's a consideration for some people. I had watched some other people's videos on the amount of skills in this game, so I kind of knew what to expect when I leveled up for the first time and I panned out here and saw, like, oh my god, look at the overwhelming amount of abilities that there are in this game that I can choose from. And you start off with this tiny little branch of 2 ways that you can go, but then from there it branches out into these, I don't know, it looks like there's hundreds of abilities here that I can choose to progress through. Which I think is one of the unique aspects of Path of Exile compared to other games, is the sheer staggering amount of flexibility they give you in terms of choosing all of these abilities. So the leveling up process was very simple, picking your passives and going from there, and that affects your other stuff. But there is a staggering amount of customization that you can choose from in this game, which I think is unique to Path of Exile. Now, once I got into the first little town hub area, it's very straightforward here. There's a trade market, there's a stash box, there's some NPCs that you can talk to where you can turn in quests and get other quests. The voiceovers were quite good. I have no complaints here. I think the dialogue is well written. It's not cheesy in my mind, and that's something where those of you who have followed along for a long time know that I'm a huge story component guy. Like, it needs to have a good story and good writing and good voiceovers to keep me going. And while my initial reaction to the whole, oh, they've thrown me on a beach, oh, that's so original, that was kind of like, meh. Once I got here and was able to talk to the NPCs and saw that there was actually some good quality writing and good quality voiceovers, I felt much more comfortable with my first impressions. And from here, it was just a simple matter of doing some inventory management, selling off some stuff, doing some new gem slots, all that good stuff, and then heading out to complete the first series of quests that they offered me out in the real world. One thing I can say that I was pleasantly surprised by is the game does not hold your hand, and my first death was somewhat shocking because the game got it got progressively more difficult as we got along, but there was sort of this barrier of getting out beyond the initial town, kind of adventuring around and going, oh my, this is actually, I'm taking lots of damage. I'm getting 8, 10, 12 mobs on me at my time. I need to start being a little more strategic about playing. And then boom, I hit this fire fury that wiped me out and was like, okay, now I got to go back and get revenge. And when I did, it was so sweet. Ultimately, I was able to complete the first quest from the starting village and get the medicine chest and go back and turn in all the quests and get the next round of quests, which are leading me off in a different direction. The story is still a little vague. I'm hoping that gets a little clearer as we go on. But overall, I have to say that my initial first impressions of Path of Exile, now that I'm actually sitting in to play it beyond just some R&D stuff that I was doing years ago, is that I'm pleasantly intrigued. This isn't the best thing I've ever played, but it's also not the worst thing I've ever played. Again, this is not the typical type of game that I enjoy, but I do from time to time like these styles, as long as everything kind of comes together and gives me a gameplay experience that I enjoy. There is some quirkiness to this. I've noticed that, and this is probably just unique to my setup, that when I am playing it on the X, it plays amazing on the Series X. It looks amazing on my 4K TV. But when I was streaming it to my PC for the purpose of recording this gameplay footage, I don't have a capture card, so I'm just doing the remote play feature, and the controls were a little laggy, and there was some weird stuttering, hitching going on, not graphic wise, but just because of like the way the controls aren't, syncing up properly or registering properly. So that's probably a me thing, not a game thing. So just for consideration, if you've seen any choppiness in the gameplay, it's not related to the graphics. It's just the way the game was streaming to my PC. But overall, I enjoyed my session enough to want to come back and keep playing it. So I'm going to be sinking my teeth into this a little deeper, and after I get around 20 hours of gameplay in, I will come back and do a proper review after I've had a chance to really explore, the character, character creation process and really fleshing out my character more with these abilities and storylines and everything else. So hopefully you will stick around for that. In the meantime, if you like this game, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you've got any tips and tricks for me to consider as I start playing this game a little deeper throughout the month of April to get a proper review out. Of course, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. And please support if you can. Super chats, super stickers, memberships, the Patreon page. We have a Discord down below if you want to come hang out with us and play games. We do lots of different things, RPGs, MMORPGs, so on and so forth. So thanks, everybody. Until next time, stay safe and happy gaming.